Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to be working on my latest purchase, the cheapest 1 Series on the market, which is equipped with the M47 engine and has already done well over 215,000 kilometers, but as you can probably hear from the next video, sounds a bit rough. And that's an issue that we're going to be addressing right now. So let's take it into the garage. My brother is also going to help me on this repair with the easy stuff, as you can see, by pushing the car and undoing all of the gearbox bolts, the starter and other miscellaneous stuff, and some parts of the teardown of the engine. To help diagnose the issue, I have already gone ahead and installed an external oil pressure gauge, but it was always reading well over 1 bar of pressure, so that means some parts of this engine might still be savable. So with this being said, let's begin the teardown. Let's start by removing the battery, where we only have to disconnect a 10mm bolt and then take it to the side. As well as closing the trunk lid so as to not get closed out. The airbox is only being held down with two 10mm bolts. A plug and the pipe fitting the turbocharger. To be able to take it out, we also need to undo this air duct, which is only held down with two 8mm bolts. Now out comes the airbox. Now to remove the boost pipe, there is only one bolt holding it down, as well as a clamp on the turbocharger. Out comes the boost pipe. Now, since we are already here, let's also go ahead and remove the fan, which is only held down by a bolt. And also has only one plug. Now the alternator wire, as well as the cowl. The strut braces, And now to drain the coolant. Now let's continue unplugging all of the wires. We have switched sides, as now to be able to continue unplugging wires, we also need to remove the boost pipe. And since we are already here, I'm also going to take off the intake manifold to make life a bit easier when removing the engine. the AC and alternator bracket, To speed things up, off camera I've removed the steering column, the engine mount nuts, as well as the ECU wiring harness. So now it's time to take it out. The engine is now set on the engine stand, and the first order of business is to drain the oil, of course. So let's go ahead and do that. What we are now looking at are metal chunks off of the bearings. This is what happens when the crankshaft starts making contact with its bearings. Usually there is a pressurized oil film between the crankshaft and the bearings, and that is what keeps them from touching. But when the service intervals are too big, the oil loses its properties and the bearings start wearing out faster. Then the oil escapes from between them much faster, leading to them touching and eventually spinning inside of the cap. We began the teardown by removing the wiring harness, the clutch and flywheel, the injectors, the fuel rail, the rocker cover, and eventually the timing cover. The whole injection system seems to have been changed, as it has blue markings all over it, so you have to be extra careful during reassembly and check to make sure that the fuel injectors have been properly coded in DME, as it could lead to rough idles. Also, the clutch disc and clutch plate have also been changed by the previous owner. Here we are removing the rocker cover, and now we can also see the state of the camshafts, which look great. And here is the engine with the timing cover off, exposing all 3 timing chains. We then quickly cleaned up the area and set the engine to TDC to be able to continue the disassembly. Unfortunately, the video cut out a bit shorter than I had expected, as the outside temperatures reached highs of almost 40 degrees here where we live, and so here is where we are almost 2 hours later, with the engine upside down and the crankshaft already being taken out. The brunt of the damage has, as you can see, been the rod bearings as well as one of the main bearings. Here is the said rod, the one that has had its bearing spin and the one that we are going to need to change. For this, the cylinder head will need to come off as well, and we're going to need to source a new rod. These are most of the parts that we have gathered during the teardown of the engine, and by the looks of things, the whole timing chain kit has been replaced with an aftermarket one, so there is at least one less problem that we need to worry about. This is the engine's crankshaft, and these are the 2 journals that have had their bearings spin. While on the first one you cannot feel any marks or signs of scoring, on the second one you can definitely feel a slight drag with your fingernail, but I believe this can still be polished out and the crankshaft can still be saved. But this is something that I'm going to have to look into. This is the end of the first part of the engine rebuild series. If you'd like to see more, please hit the subscribe button, as that would help me a lot, as well as keeping you updated with the next parts. Please share your thoughts down below, as well as telling me what you would like to see more of, and if you'd like the videos to be more detailed or more sped up in time lapses and whatnot. Until next time, thank you and take care.